Ranch, Hollis and Ivy are active in junior breed associations and 4-H. Fawcett's calve around 1,200 head of registered Hereford and Angus. Background 1,500 to 2,000 head. Market 250 commercial Hereford heifers and a eyed Angus. And they have an annual bull sale selling 100 bulls and a fall female sale selling show heifers and donor prospects. So a more qualified individual you will not find. Mr. Fawcett, thank you for being here.
Start off our day here with a very high presented heifer, F1 cross here in the minis, and I think when you study this one and their overall build and structure, the basics of cattle, I think everything's right and good. Her skeletal design is good, her angles are good, her top line is nice and level. She's more than adequate in her muscle, bone, and foot size. Plenty of body, look, and eye appeal. Just a really nice way to start off our day. Let's give this young lady a nice round of applause.
Very impressive single entry to get the AOB show started this morning. Class number 2, you are welcome. Come right on in, please. Tag 545, Catherine Wendy Boy, Box Elder, Montana. Tag number 501, Radley Berry, Port Orchard, Washington. From Rathdrum, Idaho, we welcome Autumn Fields with tag 511. Rowdy Berry again, Port Orchard, Washington with tag 505, 534. Coming to us from Brantley Spraggins of Moore, Montana, and Tanner Vanek of Lewistown, Montana, brings us tag 539. We are right now on class number 2, early spring heifer calves. Calved in the months of March and April of 2023. Winter heifer calves, you are next out. You are on deck. Winter heifer calves, pretty good size class. Tags 530, 535, 546, 527, 502, 525, 528, 515, and 510. You are on deck. While Mr. Fawcett is looking over a pretty dadgum impressive set of heifers right here, let me tell you a little bit about some of the great sponsors that we have here at the NILE for 2023. Agribest Feeds comes at the top of the list. Agribest Feeds is a proud sponsor of the NILE show. If you're looking for the best supplement for your cattle, look no further than Agribest Feeds Sweet Pro. Sweet Pro is a complete supplement that helps cover your cattle's vitamin, mineral, protein, and energy needs. along with a powerful digestive aid that helps cattle get the most out of every bite of forage. Sweet Pro comes standard with flax and MOS and has no molasses or urea. Stop in and visit with the Agribest Feeds team at their booth across from the show ring. Also, Stock Show Secrets. Stock Show Secrets, one of the brand new sponsors that we have for 2023. Stock Show's secret brand supplements have innovated the livestock show industry. Like their competitors, Stock Show Secrets offers performance-based products to make your animals do and look better. But Stock Show Secrets also offers products that for a safer show experience. They believe that no matter how good an animal is, it won't place very well if they cannot show well. And that's what makes Stock Show Secrets very much different. You can check them out online. Go to Facebook or Instagram at StockShowSecrets.com. And, of course, Select Sires, an expanded sire lineup that includes more elite bulls from respected programs. Select Sires, calving ease, carcass cows. Stop by and see Jane Ansel at their booth in the trade show or visit with your local Select Sire representative.
Really nice competitive class here all the way through towards the bottom end, and even at the bottom end there's a pretty tough decision on what we need to do. But I think the easiest thing to do is to start off with our class winner. We've got two real high quality ones here, but when you compare the two against each other, the young man's heifer that comes out in first is just a bit more pulled apart in her skeletal design. She's a bit stouter featured, a bit more opened up in her rib cage and bolder in her arch and shape there. You study her from the side, she really got a nice silhouette. She's got more than enough muscle, foot, and bone and power. Just a really nice one here to start off our class. A fairly comparative heifer here with a bit more length of side here comes in second. But when you study these two and off from the front three-quarter view, this heifer doesn't offer as much depth of rib, doesn't open up near as wide in the center portion and front part of her rib cage, but a really nice competitive one here, sound, functional, good heifer there in second. Third and fourth probably couldn't be more opposite in their overall type and kind. I'm going to go ahead and use one that I think is a bit more feminine, offers us a little bit more long-term cow power here in third. A heifer that's nice, long. She's elegant. She's a bit leaner compared to the heifer that's right behind her. She's not quite as stout and powerful, but when you study her skeleton, her angles are good. She's able to get out and go. I just like her overall future and cow power that this one offers compared to the one that's right below her. Young lady's heifer comes out next, is the biggest bodied, one of the stoutest featured females out in the class. I like the overall depth of rib she has. When you get behind her, she's opened up fairly wide. You set her in motion, she handles her hock and hind leg a little bit differently than I'd like to see. I'd just like to make her a bit more feminine and flexible on the go to place her higher in this class today. The next two heifers are fairly different, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use the one that has the advantage of overall power and mass compared to the heifer that rounds out the class. You study this one, she's striking from the side view. She's long and extended. She's got some muscle shape and power. I'd like to change her skeletal design. She gets a little bit steeper up through her shoulder. Knee to ground needs to be changed a bit, but she offers us a bit more power compared to the heifer that rounds out her class. Gold heifer that finishes out, I think, is a really nice prospect for this young lady. She's sound, she's functional, she's got some length. She doesn't have that overall eye appeal and mass to place any higher in this class today. Let's give all those exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to our top two finishers in the class right there, finishing in reserve. Tag number 505, Rowdy Berry of Port Orchard, Washington. And Ratley Berry of Port Orchard, Washington finishes at the top of the class with tag 501. That's going to bring us to class number 3. Winter heifer calves calving in January or February of 2023. Pretty good size class right here. Good to have you. Tag number 530, Stafford McRae of Prineville, Oregon. Tag number 535, Brantley Spraggins of Moore, Montana. Tag number 546, Catherine Windyboy of Box Elder, Montana. Tag 527, Mercedes Schinderling of Deer Lodge, Montana. Tag number 502 from Port Orchard, Washington, Radley Perry. Tag number 525, Kirby Schinderling, 525 at Deer Lodge, Montana. Kylie Smaya from Belgrade, Montana. Brings us tag 528. Toddy Gertis of Cheney, Washington with tag 515. And tag number 510 from St. Ignatius, Montana, Tanea Avelo. A shout out to Pine Coulee Bulls. Bulls bred and tested for convenience, efficiency, and profit traits. Pine Coulee Bulls sale will be March 11, 2024 at Wagon Box Ranch in Hardin, Montana. They'll be selling 170 yearling bulls, and their very big thanks go out to Jim Stampville and John Carroll. The Western Ag Reporter has been proudly serving the Western ag industry since 1940, and they're proud to be instrumental in starting the NILE with founder Pat Goggins holding the #1 charter. Stop by their booth and sign up for your subscription today. Western Ranch Supply, serving the big country with quality and service you can trust. Stop by the West End store located just off the Shiloh exit. It's a complete farm and ranch store with vet supplies and show supplies, fencing and livestock equipment, saddles, tack. They've got a huge clothing department. Thank you to Rob Erickson, Keith Robinson, and Shane Vandevort. They've got stores right here in the Magic City of Billings, also up in Great Falls, Montana. And make sure to stop by at the Tri-State Livestock booth as you come right in through the door this morning. Tri-State Livestock News is the leading livestock publication in the upper Midwest. They've got over 60 years under their belt, and they are published every single Saturday. Tri-State Livestock News provides timely agribusiness news, rodeo updates, livestock market reports, and community event coverage in a 9-state region. You can visit them online at tsln.com, or better yet, stop by their booth just inside the entry here and off to your right as you come through the doors. And while you're there, make sure you check out the sweatshirts that they've got hanging there. If you are proud to be part of the beef industry here in the good old United States of America, they've got some sweatshirts there that are going to say just exactly what you want to say. So stop by and talk to them there at the Tri-State Livestock News booth.
Nice big class here to sort through, and just wanted to walk them again to make sure we got a good chance to see some structure, make sure we didn't miss anything. And I think we had two that come to the top here now once we get them back around again. Both of these heifers, when you compare them to the heifer in third, have that advantage in structural integrity. Their angles are good. They're good on their feet and legs, and that's why they come to the top. Young man's heifer does so in a really nice way. She's bold. She's powerful. She's stout, yet she's still feminine and good looking. Just a really nice, easy way to start off her class. I ended up switching 2 and 3. I'm going to go ahead and use the red heifer. I think this heifer is just a bit more fundamentally good, and she's better on her angles. She's better in her structure. When she really gets out and goes, she really excels at the ground in her foot and her bone work. Her joints are good. She handles her hind legs significantly better than the heifer that's right behind her. A really nice, well-balanced, good heifer that's got a bright future there in second. Our heifer that comes out next is definitely the biggest, stoutest, boldest heifer in the class. And I realize that, and maybe that's something that maybe we're scratching our head around ringside as we see this one go to third, because she is the biggest, stoutest one in the group. But when you put this one in motion, she's not near good enough at the ground, and the way that she handles her hind leg compared to the heifers right above her. And if we could make her a bit more flexible on the go, she'd definitely be a contender to win this class. Really nice complete one here coming next as well. She just gets a bit outpowered. There's not really any holes in this heifer. She balances up well. She's level down her top. She's more than adequate in her stoutness and boldness of shape that she's got. I just like to see her a little bit leaner up through the front third of her body and extended, and be able to reach and go out when you get her in motion. Our next heifer coming next is, when you compare to the heifer that's right above her, you do have a size advantage. She's a bit longer sided. She's a bit bigger. She's bolder. When you set this one in motion, she doesn't handle her hind two quite as well. She gets a little bit cow hawk there on the end. I'd like to see her handle those rear two with a bit more comfort and ease. If we could get that across, she'd definitely move up a spot or two. Young lady's heifer coming out next, the black and white one. Really nice, well-balanced, complete one. She obviously has a disadvantage in size coming out here compared to the heifers above her, but a really nice, complete one, a real nice project for this young lady. Next heifer coming out, she's a bold-made heifer. She's got a lot of arch and shape to her ribs. She's got some depth through the center portion of her body. I like to change her on the move. She gets a little bit sickle-hawked. She doesn't handle her rear legs and pasterns quite as well as some of those heifers right above her. Another nice project. We get into two heifers here to round out our class, or heifers that are not quite as ideal in their overall structural designs. They don't handle their angles to their shoulder. They don't get out and travel quite as well. The two heifers both have plenty of body and length. I just like to change them how they go to move any higher in this class today. Let's give all these exhibitors in this big class a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to the top two in the class right there. Finishing in reserve, tag number 515. That is Tida Gertis of Cheney, Washington. And at the top of the class, congratulations go to McCrae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon with tag number 530. We are going to now select our champion junior heifer calf and reserve champion. So all those that are in contention for selection of champion and reserve champion junior heifer calf, welcome back to the Ford F-150 show ring.
fortunate enough to see quite a bit of quality here in our first 3 classes. We've had some pretty good numbers as well. I'm really impressed with our 5 that come back out here. I think there's some good in all 5 of these. They're all fundamentally sound. The basics are there. We just kind of got to sit back and decide which direction we want to go here to move on throughout the show. But I think justifiably, if you check in with all these 3 kids and kind of figure out what breeds these heifers are, I think all 3 of these out here, these class winners, will be very successful in their own rights going forward when they get into their breeds later on in the year and next summer and fall. Let's give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause, and we'll go out and pick your division champion in reserve.
Congratulations to your top 2 in the class right there, finishing in reserve. In division. Your top 2 in division, finishing in reserve. McCray Stafford of Prineville, Oregon, with tag number 530. Your class champion, Radley Berry of Port Orchard, Washington, with tag number 501. And that is going to bring us to a single entry. That'll bring us to a single entry. These are late senior heifer calves calving in the month of November or December of 2022. Looking right here at tag number 506. This one's shown to us again by Rowdy Berry of Port Orchard, Washington. This will be your champion senior heifer calf, and we'll move right there to a 3-entry class. Summer yearling heifer calves. Tags 531, 516, and 529. You are on deck. 531, 516, 529. You are on deck. Thank you to Rocky Mountain Compost for their contribution to support the NILE again this year. They've supplied all of our livestock bedding, and they can provide yours too. They deliver across 7 states. Show Fresh H2O is a solution for your livestock water drinking needs. By eliminating the chlorine in the water, it gets rid of the foul taste and smell that causes your animal not to drink. Hydration is the key to success from the barn to the show ring. Show Fresh H2O has helped exhibitors perform at the top level, bringing home countless championship banners. From coast to coast and border to border, Show Fresh H2O is the most affordable and effective show tool in your box. That'll bring us to Peak Production Center, formerly known as Gen X Hawkeye West. They're located at 3800 Duck Creek Road in Billings, Montana. They house bulls for Gen X and Alta Genetics, and give them a call and schedule a tour to look through their bulls today. Again, that is Peak Production Center. K.R. Rao and Wilson Traders Wilson is a manufacturer of quality livestock grain flatbeds, drop decks, self-unloading belt conveyor, and gooseneck trailers. K.R. Rao determined 47 years ago that the Wilson trailer was the best quality and had better performance, durability, and value than any other Brand X trailer that they'd seen go through their facility. Proudly supporting the NILE Top Herdsman Trailer Award. Transova Genetics is the industry leader in advanced reproductive technologies, including embryo transfer, in vitro fertilization, sex-sorted semen, as well as genetic preservation and cloning services. More than 36 years of experience, Transova Genetics is the best partner to equip you with the tools you need to achieve your breeding goals.
Able to chat with this young man a little bit here. He kind of resembles the young boys that were Grand Reserve in that last division. Just got to kind of pieced it all together. Same family, cousins here. All three of these guys are showing limb flexes, come out of the same cow herd. And I think there's a lot of quality here. Not only this one, but the family that's got something going on here in this breed, because there's definitely some quality that these boys are showing. This one coming out next is one you really appreciate here for overall length of design, her flexibility when she gets out and goes, just her presence when she's out here. She knows she's good. She's got plenty of body and length and levelness, just a really high quality one. If I could change her any, she's getting just a little bit over on her knee and get a little bit soft in her pastern. But I think a high quality animal. We'll look forward to seeing him back out here later. Let's give that young man a nice round of applause.
Rowdy Berry, Port Orchard, Washington, in a very impressive single entry class right there. Tag number 506. That will be your champion senior heifer calf. And we'll move on now to our following class, and that is going to be a 3-entry class. These are summer yearling heifers calving in May 1st through the end of August of 2022. Welcome tag number 531, McCrae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon. Tag number 516, Tyler Gertis of Cheney, Washington. Tag number 529, Kason Snyder of Kimball, Nebraska. And showmen and showwomen, we do remind you and thank you for wearing that tag number that does correspond with the animal that you are showing. That makes it much, much more efficient for us keeping our records up here. And I think in the end, it ends up being a positive for you, too. Thank you for wearing the matching number to your stock.
kind of a challenging class here, and there's decisions to make here on the between second and third. Young man, you can bring yours up. 3. I think our class winner is obviously one that needs to go there and go there quickly, and I think it's important for you on ringside to be able to find that as well. I realize she's got a little bit more skin and throat and chest. To me, that just reads as a massive power cow, and when you get this one out in motion, she can really get out and go. I think one that's really structural sound, and she's good looking, and she's got some mass and power when you get in behind her. You study her from the side, she's just got a ton of depth of body and rib shape, and when you set her in motion, just to see that flexibility and the way that she can get out and go is just really impressive. I think a really high quality one there that wins her class. Decision for me comes in 2 and 3, and it's a challenging decision, and I won't argue with you if you want to switch these one bit. I think the heifer that comes out in second, there's more of her. I realize she's heavier in condition, and she's too much condition for me. But I think one that when you just study her overall skeleton, or with the skeleton, her power and mass and body that she has, she's bigger footed, bigger boned. A heifer that's just, there's more of her. The heifer that's in third will fit inside of our second place heifer, and that's why we place them the way we do. Our third place heifer, I really appreciate the condition that she comes to us in. I think this is an ideal conditioned heifer for the show ring. I think she's right where she needs to be. I like her extension and her balance when you study her up through the front third of her body. And that's where this heifer has an advantage compared to that heifer in 2. When you study her from the side, she's more extended, she balances up better, her lines are good, she's fundamentally sound. There's just not enough of her to get around that heifer in 2. I really like all 3 of these heifers. Let's give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Excellent class right there. Finishing in the top 2 spots, tag number 529 is in reserve. That's Kason Snyder of Kimball, Nebraska. And at 531 on the top of the class, again, McCrae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon. That's going to bring us to class number 7. These are spring yearling heifer calves, calved in March or April of 2022. We've got a pair of subclasses here. Our first subclass has 5 entries. We welcome tag number 514, Maddie Flowers of Shepherd, Montana. Tag 408, Aspen Pierre of Lusk, Wyoming. Tag 409, Quentin Pierre of Lusk, Wyoming. Tag 541 is Chloe Wardell of Sheridan, Wyoming. And tag number 504, Radley Berry, Port Orchard, Washington.
we've got a little bit of time this morning, so I don't think there's really that need to be in a big rush to get through these. And I think on our top side of this class, we've got two really powerful breeding pieces up here, and in the bottom three heifers, there's some pretty big decisions to make and quite a few changes that we'll discuss here in a minute. But I think the young man's heifer that comes to the top does so fairly quickly, and I think if you had a herd of 500 of these heifers running around out in your pasture and to make mama cows out of, you probably got quite a high quality operation. Not just the show ring appearance out here, she is good and well balanced and striking like we like to see out here in the ring, but at the same time she's got real world qualities that are kind of hard to get into this show ring and still have enough look to kind of compete. I think she ties everything together really good, and she balances well. You study her from the side, she gives you a striking pose. She's long-bodied, yet she's moderate in her framework. She's opened up in her skeleton. She's bold in the center portion of her body. A heifer that can get out and go and just kind of runs away with this class. Our next heifer is a frame score bigger, and maybe got a shot more power, a bit more influence there from the Charlet side of things, and that gives her a bit more shape, and that's not a bad thing. I appreciated that about her. She's got more muscle, if that's what you're looking for. She's wider down her top. She's got more muscle and shape down her top line. Still comes with us with plenty of body and flexibility, just not quite as neat and balanced as that heifer that wins our class, but two really good ones there to go 1 and 2. Next, we've got some decisions to make. We've got some differences here in types and kinds, body shapes, depth of body, fleshing ability, all these things to consider. And comes to the end of it, we take them for a walk and we sort it on structural integrity. The most structural correct heifer is going to be our third place one. You study her angles of her shoulder, her knee to ground. I think that she's the most correct in that on the front side of things. And then you set her in motion. She definitely handles her hind leg better than the two that are right behind her. If I could change her, make her more competitive with the heifers right above her, I'd maybe like to soften her up through the center portion of her body. Our next two heifers, that decision comes to which one's going to be the easier flashing, the softer made heifer, and that's definitely the gentleman's heifer that comes out next. I appreciate her overall body shape, her mass and power that this one has. I'd like to change her on her rear too when we set her in motion. She gets a little bit up on her passer and doesn't handle with her hock with quite as much flexibility as those right above her, and that's how she ends up in fourth. Young lady heifer here that rounds out her class. I really like her. She's nice and lean in her conditions. She's up-headed. She's long-sided. She's just not soft enough through the center portion of her body. You get her out in motion, she gets a little bit short and choppy strided. I just like to see her a bit more flexible and fluid on the go to move any higher in this class. Let's give all those exhibitors a nice round of applause.
A remarkable subclass right there. Finishing in reserve, Maddie Flowers of Shepherd, Montana with tag number 514. That was easy. And at the top of the class, congratulations going to tag 504 of Port Orchard, Washington, Radley Berry. Berry's Kahlua. That'll bring us to our second subclass. There are 7 in this subclass. We welcome from Catalda, Idaho, Colton Story with tag number 533. Also, from Lewistown, Montana, Alyssa Vanek with tag 538. Tag number 547 from Box Elder, Montana, Catherine Windyboy. Tag number 512 from Rathdrum, Idaho, Autumn Fields. Tag number 518 from Circle, Montana, Charlie Habel. Tag number at 540 from Filer, Idaho, Kaysen Womack. And tag number 543 from Bancroft, Idaho, Stockton Waite. That is subclass number 2 of class number 7, spring yearling heifers. Capital the months of March and April of 2022. I need to pay just a couple more bills here if you would bear with me for just a moment. Want to give a shout out to Origin. Breeder to Breeder Genetic Services, the first and largest genetics company founded and operated by beef cattlemen for beef cattlemen. One stop for custom semen collection, sex sorting, and semen of sales and semen featuring the #1 Angus sire of the progeny registered for the past 3 consecutive years and for the past 5 years. Also, Phillips 66. At Phillips 66, we provide energy for life. More than 13,000 employees work safely and responsibly to process, transport, store, and market market energy products. These products help to transport, feed, clothe, and care for society every day. Learn more about Phillips66.com by going to just that, Phillips66.com. Biozeme and VitaFirm. Make sure to provide the best quality vitamin and mineral supplement for your herd with the VitaFirm line, powered by Amafirm, a prebiotic proven to increase intake, digestion, and absorption. VitaFirm is a proud sponsor of the 2023 NILE. Hubbard Feeds has a long history of providing research-based nutrition products and innovative support services. We have 22 manufacturing locations across the United States that provide our dealers and customers a wide variety of products. At Hubbard, we are driven to provide our customers with products and answers that will improve their profitability, increase their competitive advantage, reduce their risk, and simplify their lives. That is Hubbard Feeds.
interesting class here for me to evaluate because we've got some differences here to kind of think about, not only on the top end, but when we start looking down further in the line, where there's definitely some tough decisions that have to be made. I'm going to go ahead and use a heifer that I think is one that I got to admit, she might not be my speed or my kind quite as much as some of the other heifers in her class, but when you start to study her as an individual, it's hard to find a hole in her. The heifer is sound, she's functional, she's soft, she's easy doing, she's flexible when she gets out and goes, she gets behind her, she's got plenty of power, yet she's still feminine in her overall muscle design and the way that she's put together. Just a fault-free one that has to win the class just because of her overall structural integrity, her eye appeal, and balance. Our heifer that comes in two is a longer-sided heifer, and I like that about her. She's a frame score bigger, she's more extended, a heifer that just gives up that overall integrity when you set her in motion. She doesn't handle her front two or her rear two quite as flexible as the heifer that wins our class. I think two really good ones. I like the overall flexibility and comfort that her class winner offers, and that's why she wins our class. Our next heifer coming out here is one that's really a nice real-world type of cattle, a heifer that's got some extension, maybe the longest-bodied female in the class. When you start to study her on her overall balance and eye appeal from the side, she gets a little bit chestier. She's not quite tied in as good. They're right behind her shoulder. She needs to be opened up in her forerib to kind of blend and be a bit smoother. But I think a really nice type of cattle that's extended with a lot of cow power that's going to do this young man a lot of good. The next heifer coming out next is one that I think is kind of our last option in terms of an overall breeding heifer type, the commercial kind, whatever breed this one might be. She's got opportunity here to be able to go out in the future and be a mama cow and offer us some length and extension. She doesn't have that overall mass and power and real eye appeal, not quite the bells and whistles of the heifers that are right above her. But I think when you study her at the ground, she's sound, she's functional, she's middle frame, she's soft, she's easy doing. Just a really nice complete one there to go next. I chatted with this gentleman coming out next that I really appreciate this heifer. And I thought maybe she might be the best one when she came in the ring, but they just kept coming and getting better as they came in. The heifer that I think is, if you put this one in a different scenario and maybe put her in more of a terminal situation, maybe she'd probably definitely win this class quite easily. A heifer that offers us a tremendous amount of width of skeleton, mass, power, shape. She's the heaviest muscled heifer in this class, and that's also why she gets beat. I'd like to see this one offer us a bit more growth and flexibility, a bit more feminine, and her overall design to move any higher in this class today. Black and white heifer coming out next, same type of deal, really stout, massive one, pulled apart in her skeleton. I'd like to see her a bit more feminine in her overall design to move any higher. Young lady's heifer offers us a nice long-bodied, extended, lean heifer, just doesn't have the bells and whistles today to go any higher. All these heifers are good, they're different. Let's give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Congratulations. Finishing reserve in the subclass right there. Autumn Fields of Rathdrum, Idaho, attack number 512. That was Magpie. And Sitka, JC, that is. JC, tag number 540. Filer, Idaho's Kason Wammack wins that subclass. We are going to welcome back into the Ford F-150 show ring all those that are in contention for selection of champion junior yearling heifer and reserve. Shout out to just a few more of the great sponsors that we have here for our 2023 NILE. Not the least of which, Northern Ag Network, KGHL. NILE Stock Show is brought to you by the flagship station of the Northern Ag Network, home of award-winning farm broadcasters like Taylor Brown, Coulter Brown, Andy Schwab, and Brett McCrae. You'll find them on the AM dial at 790 or at 94.7 FM. Les Schwab, a proud sponsor of the Northern International Livestock Exposition. Safety starts at Les Schwab, including tires, wheels, batteries, brakes, steering, alignment, and more. Visit leschwab.com. And finally, Tri-State Livestock News. Tri-State Livestock News is the leading livestock publication in the upper Midwest. Over 60 years strong, published every Saturday. Tri-State Livestock News provides timely agribusiness news, rodeo updates, livestock market reports, and community event coverage in a 9-state region. Visit them online at tsln.com.
When we get all three of these older heifer class winners out here to kind of sort for our division, you look at all 6 of them and there's quality all the way that runs through, but I think our elites are here in our first places out of all 3 classes, and I think all 3 of these heifers are fairly different in their type and kind. I think all 3 of them are fairly good. The one that wins that first class is just a beef cow. I mean, she's massive and stout. You know, I'd like to change her, make her a little neater up through the front third of her body, I guess, if you'd like. But I think in terms of structural build and mass and power, it's hard to deny that one's quality. Our heifer that comes out of our second class is one of those ones that has kind of got the blend of everything that I'm kind of looking for. She's got the real world look. She's got that cow power eye appeal that, I mean, if you're a cowboy that come into this barn to kind of see what we're doing showing cattle, I know that you can appreciate that one. You'd like to take that one home as well and make a bunch of replacement females out of her, put her in the donor pen and get some herd bulls, and I think she's definitely can do that. And then you come back to the show ring side. She's sound and flexible and lengthy and eye appealing. She balances really well. I just think that's a real nice total package. Our young lady's heifer that comes out of that third class is one that's a little different in her type when you can compare her to those 2 that are right in front of her. She's obviously different. I mean, this one's built a little different. She's attractive, she's stout, she's good looking, she's sound when she gets out and goes. Maybe she gets a little bit plainer up through that throat when you compare to the one that's right above her. Gets a little bit easier in the top line as well. Not quite as extended, but I think a really nice heifer there. Let's give all 6 of these exhibitors a nice round of applause, and we'll go out and pick your champion reserve in this division.
Congratulations there to tag number 540. She's going to finish reserve. That's Case and Wammock of Filer, Idaho with JC. And your champion, Radley Berry, Port Orchard, Washington, tag number 504 with Barry's Kahlua. That'll bring us to class number 8, junior yearling heifers. These heifers came to us from the 1st of 2022 through the end of February. There are 4 in this class. Make it 5. There's 5 in the class. Tag number 542, shown by Chloe Wardell of Sheridan, Wyoming. Tag number 532, shown by McCrae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon. Tag number 517, Taylor Harriman of Parker, South Dakota. Tag number 507, Rowdy Berry of Port Orchard, Washington. And finally, Kirby Schinderling of Deer Lodge, Montana, brings us tag number 526.
we've got more on the line out here for these two young men. These two guys are their cousins out here, so I bet there's quite a battle in here between the two personally. They're wanting to beat each other, but at the same time, they're on their same team. So when we get back to the stall, we're still buddies and friends. But right now, they're really battling, and both of these showmen are doing an incredible job. Just really appreciate the way these guys get this presented and the way they can come out here and stick them. And I think there's two heifers here that are both very well managed. And I think there's one that, you know, that second place heifer really got me when she came in. And you look at her from the side, and it's hard to make them that good and that good looking from the side. She just really balances well. But I think there's an obvious advantage in overall length and extension. A heifer that wins our class to my right, she's longer down her top. She's long from hooks to pins. She's got more shape and muscle through the bottom part of her skeleton when you study her rib cage and her stifle. When you set these two in motion and you get behind them, and that's where these two heifers separate. Our class winner is bolder and shapier and more powerful. She's got more true natural dimension on the bottom half of her skeleton when you get behind them in motion, and that's how she excels. I really appreciate that type of cattle that wins her class. Like I mentioned, that second place heifer is deadly from the side. She balances well, she's eye appealing, she does everything right. But when you set that one in motion and you get behind her, she's just a bit more disappointing when you study the bottom half of her skeleton down in her stifle and the way she handles her base on the go. Heifer that's maybe a bit narrow compared to that heifer that wins her class. Two really good ones there going first and second. We've got a bit more moderate heifer coming third, a heifer that's really sound and functional in the way that she's made. I like her angle. She can get out and go plenty good enough. This young lady did a nice job getting this one ready and put together. Real nice fit job on this one, but she ran into a couple really powerful ones there in first and second. Has to go third. Our next heifer, our two heifers here that kind of round out the class, couldn't be more different in their type and kind. I've got one that offers us a bit more extension, offers us another frame or two above our class, a heifer that rounds out her class, and I'm going to go ahead and use that advantage that she has in her frame size and her extension. I just think there's more growth and performance. I think there's some structure changes that need to be made on both of these heifers, but I'm going to go ahead and use that bigger scaled, longer bodied heifer to place over our heifer that rounds out the class. Heifer that rounds out the class, she's stout, she's wide construction, she's powerful. Heifer that doesn't offer us enough grow here today to move any higher in this class. Let's give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to the top two in the class right there. DJ Karma ET, tag number 532, shown by McCrae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon. And your class champion is DJ Catch 22 from Rowdy Berry of Port Orchard, Washington, the tag number 507. We will move now to select our Grand and Reserve champion female. All those in contention for selection of Grand Champion Female, welcome back to the Ford F-150 EcoBoost Show Ring. Just want to remind you about Next Level Images. Next Level Images is the official photographer for the NILE 2023. They're out of Mount Pleasant, Texas, and all champion and reserve breed champions are required to have their backdrop photos taken. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to have their photos taken at the backdrop. All photos, ring, and backdrop will be available in the northeast corner of the Expo Center.
last year when I was out in Billings helping sort this show. I judged at the end of the week, so I got to partake in our Supreme Junior show, Junior Heifer show, and the heifer that we used to win came out of AOB. So I think this show definitely has some heat in it, and you know, I'm not going to be able to stick around as long this week and help do that again, but I can promise you that there's going to be the heifer that comes out of this deal is going to be in contention. So it's important for you to know what's on the line here. I know sometimes when you think of the AOB show, it kind of gets dismissed a bit, but there's quality out here that's as good as anything that you'll probably see all week. Let's give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause, and I'll go out and pick your champion in reserve.
Congratulations to Rowdy Berry, tag number 507 with DJ Catch 22, finishing as your reserve grand champion. And Radley Berry of Port Orchard, Washington, tag number 504. Berry's Kahlua, selected as your grand champion. Congratulations. We're going to move right ahead now. We've got a pretty small bull class, but we're going to have a look at some high quality. I have no doubt of that. We'll welcome our spring yearling bulls, calving in the months of March and April. 2 entries right here. Tag Thompson of Powell, Wyoming brings us tag number 536. And also tag brings us tag number 537. 2 entries. This will select our champion and grand champion bull. Open show, you are on deck. AOB open show, you are on deck. Tags 413 and 433 will be first into the show ring. That'll be the late spring heifer calves, May 1st of this year and following.
Couple nice bulls out here, ranch ready kind. I think they're right in their condition. They're long bodied, extended type of cattle. There's some differences here. Our bull that's to my right with the young man, he's got one that's a bit stouter featured, a bit more rugged in his overall design. He's bigger footed, bigger bone type of cattle. The one that's to my left is one that's a little bit longer sided. Gives up some bone work and structure down low, but I think both of these 2 bulls are real nice and sound. They're functional, they're stout, they're long bodied. I'm going to go ahead and use the lady's advantage and overall length aside to put some more pounds on some calves. She'll win our class and be our champion bull, and the gentleman's bull will be our reserve. Let's give both these exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to your class champion, your division champion, and your grand champion. Bull right there, Tag Thompson. Showing tag 537. That is Knight Rider. And finishing in reserve at tag number 536. Again, shown by Tag Thompson, Captain Kroon. And without further ado, I think we are going to get started right into the open show. And it again is our pleasure to have you here. Good luck to all of our open showmen and showwomen. We are going to welcome class number 1 into the Ford F-150 show ring. Tag number 413 from Glen Cattle Company in Missoula, Montana. Also tag number 433 from Dan Vanek of Salicia, Montana. Our judge this morning for our open show, we welcome Ashley Wagner of Loveland, Colorado. Ashley comes to us from Loveland, where she and her husband Jake manage Beatty Livestock alongside Ken Jane and Sydney Beatty. Beatty Livestock is an Angus and Simmental-based show cattle operation that focuses on producing nationally competitive show heifers and breeding stock. Before moving to Colorado, Ashley was a member of champion livestock judging teams at Redlands Community College and Oklahoma State University, including being the 2014 High Individual in Louisville. Ashley served as the assistant coach at OSU for 3 years prior to establishing herself in Colorado, where she also runs her own marketing business. Ashley has judged shows across the country, including the National Western Stock Show, American Royal, Houston Livestock Show, and various junior nationals, alongside countless state fairs and jackpot shows. So again, we do welcome it to the Ford F-150 show ring. Tags 413 and 433. These are late spring heifer calves. On deck, we have a little bit larger class number 2. Class number 2, tag 435, 420, 425, 400, 404, 427, and 432. You are on deck. While we anticipate the arrival of tags 413 and 433, our late spring heifer calves, let me tell you just a little bit about some of the great sponsors that we do have here this week, not the least of which Agribest Feeds. Agribest Feeds is a proud sponsor of the NILE Show and your local AeroQuip dealer. AeroQuip is the most innovative stock handling chute on the market. You can look them over for yourself. The 8700 manual chute is in the Agribest Feeds booth right across from the show ring, and the full line of AeroQuip chutes on the grounds by the Montana Pavilion. Check out our ad on the back cover of the NILE Premier magazine, or stop by and visit with Agribest Feeds at their booth across from the show ring. And also a thank you to one of the brand new sponsors that we have for 2023. That is Stock Show Secret. Stock Show Secret brand supplements have innovated the livestock show industry. Like their competitors, Stock Show Secret offers performance-based products to make your animal do and look better. But Stock Show Secrets also offers products that for a safer show experience, a more rewarding show experience. They believe that no matter how good an animal is, it won't place very well if it can't be shown well. That's what makes Stock Show Secrets different. Check them out online or on Facebook or Instagram at stockshowsecrets.com. And also, if you have a dear ones, close people in your circle that can't be here today, take heart. Just give them a call or send them a text. Let them know that they can watch all the shows live on showbarnflix.com or on the Showbarnflix Facebook page.
We start off your AOB show here this morning on a good foot. And we've got two heifers here in this first class that I think are awfully good, just very different. And I'm sure we'll run into that quite a bit today in these AOBs. I'm going to leave them standing just the way they are. The star-headed heifer here at the front of the line is just a little bit more my speed. When you want to talk about look and balance and really femininity, I think she's a female that's, from a long-term standpoint, better in terms of her spine, smoother in terms of her joints. Her skeleton is just built into her just a little bit better. She's not as big and woofy and big-legged as the heifer that stands directly behind her, but again, just probably a little bit more my speed in terms of maternal look and quality. The heifer here in second, as I said yesterday, if you're in the business of wanting to breed and raise steers, you probably really like this one. And I definitely think that she fits into that mold. She's big-legged, she's hairy, she's got a cool look up there through her front end. I guess from a long-term standpoint, I maybe question this one just a little bit more in terms of maturity and mature size. She's one that's plenty stout, but because of that, probably just a little bit coarser in her build, coarser in her joints, not as fluid in terms of the way she's built in terms of her skeleton. Again, depending on where you want to go and what your preferences are, I can see switching them. I just more resonate with the type and kind of the young lady there at the front of the line. Let's congratulate both of them.
Outstanding smaller type class right there, but I'll tell you two very high quality individuals. Tag number 433, Miss Fergie, shown by Dan Vanek of Cilicia, Montana, finishes in reserve. And from Glid Cattle Company of Missoula, Montana, tag number 413, Stealing the Bow, finishes at the top of the class. That's going to bring us to class number 2. These are early spring heifer calves. These calves coming to us in the month of March. We'll welcome, once again, Dan Vanek from Cilicia, Montana with tag number 535. Tag number 420 from Oklahoma Shorthorns of Pompey's Pillar, Montana. Tag number 424 from Stardust Ranch of Rathdrum, Idaho. Tag 400 from Radley Berry of Port Orchard, Washington. Rowdy Berry of Port Orchard brings us tag 404. Brantley Spraggins of Moore, Montana, tag number 427. And Tanner Vanek of Lewistown, Montana, brings us tag number 432. Class number 3, winter heifer calves, calving in the months of January and February of this year. You are on deck. So tag 421, 428, 403, 415, and 419. Be getting it on your mind. You are coming up in the following class. This one again right here, class number 2 early spring heifer calves calved in the month of March 2023.
Another really nice class of these heifer calves, and I guess for me, there's a pretty easy winner. This gentleman here at the front of the line in the cowboy hat, I think, has got a female that just checks so many boxes in terms of balance and structure and look. I think she looks very age appropriate, probably a little bit more moderate just in terms of type and kind of the heifer that stands directly behind her. That doesn't scare me at all. I think because of that, she's softer in the center portion of her body. It allows her to balance and just put all of her pieces together better from the side. I think this one's running gears are incredible, guys. The angle to her shoulder, the way she gets out of her hip, the way she uses that hock and that hind leg. I like a lot of things about that one. And that's nothing to take away from the heifer that's here in second. I think she's probably bigger and longer and more extended. Probably got just a touch more growth to her. I like the way that one's built off of her rear too. I don't know if the angle to her shoulder is quite as good as that heifer that wins. She's not nearly as soft and just swoopy in the center portion of her body as that other heifer. And with that, I think time and maturity will sure help her out. Those two match up together really good in terms of type and kind. One that's a little bit different comes here in third, and I think that there's some really cool pieces about this one. Her neck and the way it sits sits on her shoulder, how overwhelming she is in terms of her rib and body. Super stout and powerful. When you get in from behind her and you study her at the surface, she's one that I guess, again, in terms of mature size, I question that one just a little bit. I think she's going to run out of gas in the tank as she gets bigger. For me, that one right now, in terms of her spine and the way she hooks up into her shoulder, I'd like to change ever so slightly. She doesn't handle those back wheels quite as good as those top two heifers. Similar story with the brockle or a baldy-faced heifer that comes out next. Go ahead, bud. You can round the corner. A really stout, powerful type of female. He does a nice job getting her shown, and she balances really well out here. That one's hip and hind leg from a long-term standpoint. I just wish had more give. She needs to be looser in the way she's constructed there. She needs to be more flexible in the way she utilizes that hock. I do like her for her extra balance and her extra power. We have a pair of females here at the bottom end that are really attractive and well balanced. Maybe just today don't have the extras in terms of body and in terms of structure to really run any higher. Young lady's heifer truthfully just needs a little bit more time on feed. She's awfully green, and I think when she comes into herself will be awfully good on down the road. Gentleman has one that I like the extra stoutness, like the extra hair. Again, a little bit greener in terms of her condition, needs a little bit more time. Like to see her smoother in her joints as well. Let's congratulate all of them.
Top two in the class right there. Tag 404, Rowdy Berry, Port Orchard, Washington with DJ Lavender. And your class champion comes from Radley Berry of Port Orchard. Tag 400, that is Berry's L. Going to look right here at a class with 5 entries. These are winter heifer calves, calving in the months of January and February of this year. We welcome tag number 421 from McCrae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon. Tag number 428 from Brantley Spraggins of Moore, Montana. Radley Berry brings us 403 out of Port Orchard, Washington. Jenna Kohler of Pomeroy, Washington brings us tag 415, and Connie Smea of Belgrade, Montana with tag number 419. Following selection of our top 2 of this class, we will move to division for selection of our reserve champion and champion junior heifer calf.
For me, it's a little bit of a closer decision between 2 and 3, but I think the gentleman's heifer that goes and wins this class does so pretty quickly in my mind. I think she's a beautiful combination of look and maternal attractiveness with some true, genuine power. When you get 3/4 off of the cattle, she's round in terms of her rib. She's big and square out there through her pen set, got a really big hind leg in her, and she gets out and goes and utilizes it like she needs to. She's maybe got a touch more shoulder than I'd like to see, but I think part of that is that she's youthful in terms of the way she's built at this point, and because she is so stout and she is so powerful. The heifer here in second, and again, it's a closer decision for me in 2 and 3. Today, the heifer here in second, although she's not wanting to cooperate with this young man, is just one that I think has got more to her. She's got more body. She's got more dimension at this stage in the game. She's one that when she does want to cooperate and gets pulled together, has an awfully good look of balance. Compared to your class winner, I don't know if she's got quite the angle to her shoulder like she needs, and I'd like to tweak her just in the way she goes out of that hip and hind leg ever so slightly. Young lady round in the corner here in the 3-hole, you do a phenomenal job of getting that heifer shown, and to the point where it makes you question, does this one need to go higher? I think that this one has got a world of future ahead of her. Today, she's probably not as far along, just in terms of rib and maturity as those other 2 heifers, but this one's young and this one's green, and there's a lot of good pieces in this one in terms of look through her front end, balance from the side. I wish she had maybe just a touch more set in the way she's built there at her hock, but again, I think maturity and definitely getting that one fed and bred is going to play to her advantage on down the road. One that's a little bit different here in 4 and out here probably just gets out horsed a little bit in terms of performance and mass compared to those other cattle, but one that I think is a really neat project for this young lady in terms of the pieces that she has. So cool through her front end, so stout and powerful out there through her hip, huge legs underneath her. Again, just in terms of size and maturity, I don't know if that one's got a whole lot of gas in the tank, but she's certainly going to be a fun breeding piece. The heifer that's going to round out this class, as you'll see in a lot of these heifer classes, just needs more time. She just today out here falls apart from the side because she is a touch greener, and because of that, all of those pieces and parts maybe don't fit together quite like they need to in terms of balance from the side. She too is one that I'd like to tweak in terms of her structure, and it starts at the ground. I'd like to make her just a little bit bigger footed off of those rear wheels, and I think that would allow her to be more comfortable in the way she sets down there. Let's congratulate all of them.
McCray Stafford finishing in reserve of the class right there, with Barry Zell, tag number 521, and your class champion, Radley Berry, tag 403. Barry's lights out. We are going to welcome back to the Ford F-150 show ring all those that are in contention for selection of champion junior heifer calf.
as we get into this first division, I'm really, really happy with these class winners that I have out here. And the young heifer calf that wins that first class is one that I think has got a really, really bright future ahead of her. But as you compare her to these heifers that stand directly behind her, probably just isn't quite there in terms of maturity. And then you get back to these other two heifers, and I think that there's some give and take depending on where you put your priorities. For me, though, there's one that just in terms of structure, you talk about long term, I think is built with the right skeleton, the right running gears from that standpoint. The other one is awfully, awfully unique in terms of her power and in terms of her stoutness, and still yet her ability to be so high tying and so attractive. I guess when you really watch her and study her, her way she goes from behind is just a little bit concerning from a long-term standpoint. It's going to need a lot of management in terms of the way you trim her feet to make sure that she stays within herself. So two exceptionally good cattle. There's one that fits me just a touch better. Gentleman out of class 2 is going to be your division winner. Gentleman out of class 3 is going to be reserved. Let's congratulate them.
Congratulations to your reserve, Rowdy Berry with DJ Lavender. And division champion is going to be Radley Berry of Port Orchard, Washington with Berry's L. Tag number 400. That is going to bring us to class number 4, late senior heifer calves. Calvin, March 1st through the end of December, November 1st through the end of December of 2022. Just a single entry right here. Rowdy Berry, tag number 405, Port Orchard, Washington. And once again, just a reminder to you, if you would, make sure that the number you are displaying is appropriate for the stock that you are showing. That makes our record keepers up here have a much, much easier and a much more accurate time of keeping records for the show. Again, we're looking at class number 4. This is tag number 405, Rowdy Berry, Port Orchard, Washington, single entry.
Gentleman brings out just a single entry that I think is going to be fun to see in division, guys. I really like this heifer. I think that she's super fresh and green and good in terms of her condition. That's where I would keep her for this stage in the game. I think she's very age appropriate in terms of size and in terms of maturity. This one's got an awesome set of feet and legs underneath her, an awesome look from the side, one that's so smooth and good in terms of her joints and her build. Like I said, I think she's going to be fun to see back out here in division. Let's give him a hand.
Very impressive single entry right there. Tag number 405, late senior heifer calf. Going to be your class champion as well as division champion. That's going to bring us to class number 6. There are 4 in class number 6. These are summer yearling heifers calving anywhere between the 1st of May and the end of August of 2022. McRae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon, bringing us tag number 422. Kaysen Snyder of Kimball, Nebraska, bringing us tag 444. Sydney Cutler of Phillipsburg, Montana, with tag number 411. And Matty Flowers of Shepherd, Montana, brings us tag number 412. Again, 4 entries right here. Class number 7, you are on deck. Class number 7, you are on deck. We will welcome tags 409, 408, 402, 440, 426, 431, 425, and 439 in the next class. This class again, 422, 444, 411, and 412.
It's an interesting class of these females, and I don't know if there's necessarily a right answer or one that just immediately sticks out and says, you know, I'm the one that needs to win today. But when you break them down, and maybe if you peeled a little bit of the condition off of this one, you'd land on her immediately. Even with that, I still think that she's just the better type and kind of cattle. The gentleman here at the front of the line in the cowboy hat is going to win your class today. As I said, I'd like to peel some of the condition off of that one. I think that would allow her to just be a little bit sweeter up there through that front end and that chest. You get from her shoulder back, though, and that one's just the best in terms of her center body. She's the longest and best in terms of her spine and the way her tail head is built into her hip. She's one that's got genuine width when you get in from behind her. And when you set the cattle into motion, even though she's carrying a little bit of extra condition, and because of that, maybe wants to labor around just a little bit more, I still think her angles and her joints are built into her just a little bit more appropriate out here. The heifer that comes directly behind her, in terms of condition and the rig she comes to us today, I think she's definitely better in that regard. I appreciate how fresh she is, and certainly one that balances well from the side. The young lady does a nice job getting her shown. That one falls into a few more pieces when you set her in motion, though. Her shoulder comes out of her. She drops that chest. That tail head doesn't sit perfect there off of the back side of her hip, and she's just quite a bit coarser in terms of her joints, not as fluid in the way she goes off of those rear two. A nice complete heifer rounding the corner right now. She's carrying just a touch more chest, and because of that, maybe throws her off from a balance perspective. Out here, she probably just doesn't have the extra wow factor of some of the other cattle to roll any higher. She too is maybe just a little bit more uncomfortable and uncoordinated in the way she goes out of her hip and her hind leg. On the standstill, I really, really like this heifer that comes out in fourth. She's one that patterns up and balances extremely well. It's just when you set the cattle in motion, I got to tweak that one. She's too upright in the angle to her shoulder. She's too tight and deviated in terms of her spine. And because of the extra power and stoutness that she has when you get in from behind her, just doesn't handle those rear two like I'd like to see. Nice class of females. Let's congratulate all of them.
Very impressive class right there. The top two, Maddie Flowers of Shepherd, Montana with tag number 412. That is Izzy. And at the top of the class, tag number 422, McCrae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon, bringing us Barry's Catch If You Can. We'll move right now to class number 7. There are 8 in the class 7. These are spring yearling heifer calves, calving March 1st through the end of April of last year. Tag number 409, shown by Quentin Beery of Lusk, Wyoming. Tag number 408, shown by Aspen Beery of Lusk, Wyoming. Tag number 402, Radley Berry of Port Orchard, Washington. Chloe Wardell of Sheridan, Wyoming brings us tag number 440. Tag number 426, Colton Story of Cataldo, Idaho. Tag number 431, Alyssa Vanek of Lewistown, Montana. Tag 425, the Stardust Ranch of Rathdrum, Idaho. And tag 439 from Case and Wammock of Filer, Idaho. Following this class, we will move to division and make selection of our champion junior yearling heifer and reserve.
What an awesome a pair of these heifers here at the top end of this class. And that's not just the two of them. There's a heifer down here in third that I think is awfully nice as well. And really, guys, they're just two completely different animals. You've got one that's probably just a little bit longer spined, a little bit more maternal about her head and her neck. You've got one that's just impressive in terms of the power and stoutness that she has, and for her to be as sound structured as she is. And there's a lot of give and take between these two. To be honest with you, I don't know if there is a right answer. I guess for me today, the one that's probably more unique and puts more unique pieces together is the heifer that stands in the second hole. I'm going to use her to win this class. And I'm not going to tell you that this one's necessarily just my speed. I'd like to change her in terms of her head shape for sure, and I'd like to lengthen her out from her shoulder forward. But that one, in terms of having the amount of rib and true genuine power and dimension that she has when you get in from behind the cattle, you study her out there through her pen set, how big hips she is, for her to come down to the ground and be as big-legged and big-footed as she is and be as sound as she is and good in her angles, I think is really, really, really hard to put together. The heifer that stands directly in front of her is probably just a little bit more my type and kind in terms of her head and her neck shape and just the femininity that she has from her shoulder forward. That one is incredibly long-bodied, to the point where I actually think it maybe works to a little bit of her disadvantage because she just doesn't look as put together as that other heifer on the standstill. She's one that, because of that, just doesn't balance up and put all of her pieces together quite as neatly. She's one that I love for how sound structured she is as well. Just doesn't have the extra pen width, the extra dimension, the extra oomph of that other heifer. Those are both two incredibly high quality females. Pick and choose them how you like them. The heifer that comes out next, I really like this heifer on the standstill. I think this young lady does an awesome job of getting her shown. She's one that's long and extended and probably has that advantage over either of the heifers that beat her in this class. Again, on the standstill, right there, as soon as she finishes going to the bathroom and puts that tail down, you love her, and I love her freshness. She probably has that advantage over everything else out here. It's just when you set the cattle into motion, she doesn't handle her shoulder and her knee quite as well. She's not quite as soft and comfortable and fluid in the way she's constructed from her hock to her pastern all the way down to the ground. You get in from behind the cattle, she doesn't stay as square from hip to hock to ground as she goes from behind. A really nice, complete, maternal kind of heifer that comes out next. Love her for her rib, love her for her body. She doesn't have the extra look, the extra wow factor of those top three cattle. I'd like to lengthen her out in terms of her hip, maybe make her a little bit more comfortable in the way she goes off of those rear two. A heifer that comes out next that's really hard to find where you put her in this lineup because there's things that you really like about her. She's super fresh and super attractive. She's one that balances well. Again, from a structural standpoint, maybe not perfect in the way she goes out of that shoulder. I think she's one that with time and maturity and getting a calf in that one and letting that body drop down a little bit more, that's really going to be her advantage. She just out here today looks a little shallower made, maybe not as soft and maternal there in the center portion of her body. The red heifer round in the corner, if you could just give this one a little bit more growth, I think she brings a lot to the table in terms of power and dimension. I just question this one. When you look at her head shape, when you look at her cannon bone, again, gas in the tank, I just don't know if it's there. I think probably in terms of mature size, she's hit where she needs to be or where she's going to be right now. Wish she was just a little bit longer, a little bit more extended, maybe not so compact in terms of her build. The young lady round in the corner has got a really nice, complete type of a heifer. Again, one of those that maybe just doesn't have the extras in terms of look and foot and bone out here. She, too, can be tweaked in the way she goes off of either end of her skeleton, a little bit more upright in the angle of that shoulder, wants to duck her pins off of her rear two. And then the baldy round in the corner, it could certainly benefit from just a touch of hair. I think that would make her belly line blend into her just a little bit more. I'd like to open her up in terms of of her center cavity. Just make her softer in the center portion of her body as you watch her go from behind. She wants to pull those hocks and maybe not stay quite as genuine and true in the way she's built from her hip to her hock. Let's congratulate all of those kids.
Very impressive class right there. The top two in the class, Radley Berry of Port Orchard, Washington, with tag number 402, showing Berry's Kahula, excuse me. And then JC finishes at the top of the class. That's tag number 439, shown by Filer, Idaho's Kason Womack. We're going to go right now to division. Let's make the selection for our champion junior yearling heifer. We'd welcome back to the Ford F-150 show ring all those that are in contention for selection of champion junior yearling heifer.
As the cattle come out here for division, nothing to take away from the cattle that come out of the first class. But as I said yesterday, I'm not a very good poker player. I pretty well show my cards. I like what I like. And even though they're different in terms of type and kind, the two cattle that come out of class 2 represent a different level in terms of quality out here. They're the two best cattle that have walked in the ring thus far today. They'll be your division champion reserve. Let's congratulate them.
Congratulations to our division winners right there. Very, very impressive show this morning in the AOBs. And we are going to continue going now with class number 8. Class number 8, we've got 5 entries in the class, and they are from Sheridan, Wyoming, shown by Chloe Wardell, tag number 441. From Prineville, Oregon, tag number 423, shown by McCrae Stafford. Tag number 414 is shown by Taylor Harmon of Parker, South Dakota. Tag 406 from Rowdy Berry of Port Orchard, Washington. And Kirby Schinderling of Deer Lodge, Montana brings us tag number 418. Tag 441, Chloe Wardell. You are needed at the staging area, please. 441, Chloe Wardell. The bells are ringing. You are needed at the staging area.
a nice pair of these flex females that we have here at the top end, and the gentleman that's standing in the second hole is going to be your class winner. I think in terms of structure, that one's phenomenal. I love her feet. Her feet are so big and so square and so correct, and she utilizes them so well at the ground. I think as you compare her to the heifer that stands directly in front of her, she probably doesn't have the hair coat of that female, but what you see is what you get in this female, and she doesn't need it. She's so genuine in terms of her look. She's so genuine in terms of her balance. I think she has a freshness advantage over the heifer that stands in second. I just like a lot of things about her. This heifer here in second is super highly presented, and one that I think on the standstill you love so many things about. You know, ideally you'd like to clean her up there just in terms of her jawline, and I think that that would make her just a little bit sweeter there through her front end. But take that away and she's one that balances so well, huge footed, huge legged as well. I think one that when you compare to your class winner probably isn't quite as fresh in terms of her chest floor and especially her lower skeleton. You get in from behind her, probably not as genuine in terms of her width and dimension. Doesn't handle her hip and hind leg quite as well as that heifer that wins. The heifer that comes out next just runs into two awfully good ones here at the top end. This one's youthful. She's well balanced. She's attractive. She just doesn't have the extra power, the extra substance, that extra look and just wow factor from the side to run with those top two cattle. And the heifer that's going to round out this class, I really like in terms of her power. I really like in terms of her stoutness. One that's a little bit nervous out here and maybe just doesn't know if she wants to be a show cow today. Today out here, though, she runs out of gas in terms of performance and dimension. One, two, that could just be built a little bit different in terms of balance and structure in order to go any higher. Let's congratulate all of them.
Very nice class right there. Finishing in the top two spots, tag number 423, McRae Stafford of Prineville, Oregon, with DJ Karma ET. And the class champ is Rowdy Berry, Port Orchard, Washington, tag 406, DJ Catch 22. They will also be your division champion and reserve. And with that, we will move to make selection of our grand champion and reserve grand champion heifers. So all those that are in contention for selection of grand champion and reserve grand champion heifer, welcome back to the Ford F-150 EcoBoost show ring.
An awesome lineup of these AOB cattle out here, guys. And I'll be honest with you, judging AOBs, I think, is always challenging because you've got so many different breeds that are represented, and really you're trying to compare cattle that shouldn't be compared to begin with. They all represent something different for what they are. And so I think if you go into the mindset of that, you look at them for what they represent, for the breed that they are, and what they are out here, I think that changes things just a little bit. To talk about these cattle, the heifer that comes out of this first division, I love this heifer calf. I think she's going to be awesome. I think that one, in terms of feet and legs, is just incredible. Her build is awesome. She's one that's so good in terms of her neck and her look, and there's just such a bright future ahead of that one. I would love to be the one that owns that one, especially as you think about taking her onto a big bred. The heifer that comes out of your fall-born division, a single entry out there, but one that I think, similar story, is going to be super, super competitive. For a limb flex female to be built like she is through her front end, for her to be as smooth as she is in terms of her joints, smooth in terms of her build all the way through, I think is super, super impressive. She's one I'm sure you guys will see back here next year in this big fall division, and she's going to be super good in terms of her build and the way she's built. The heifer that comes next is your outlier, and she's a key among a lot of limmies out here, and so she looks different, and rightfully she should. I talked to her in that division. The two heifers that come out of there are just so different in terms of type and kind, but there's just a uniqueness about this heifer that I just can't get past. So for one to be built like she is, to be so genuinely powerful and stout, up high, out through her pin set and from behind, and for her to get around and go like she does out of her hip and her hind leg, how soft and comfortable she is at the ground, the flex and just give that she has at her knee, I think is super impressive. She's not the prettiest about her head shape. I'd certainly like to change that. She could be a touch longer from her shoulder forward as well, but I think that cattle like that are just really, really hard to make, guys. The heifer that comes directly behind her, the big bred, is one that's just really hard to deny as well. You want to talk about one that is incredible in terms of her foot shape and size and the way that her joints are built into her. This one is that. I love this one's hind leg, and I love her foot and how big it is. For one to be a big bred heifer like she is, and for her to get around and go like she does, it is incredibly impressive. She's maybe got a little bit more chest, but I don't think that that's necessarily because she's fat. I just think that her chest forward probably sits just a little bit more forward in her, because when you study her everywhere else, she's fresh and good in terms of her condition. She's one that's probably not blessed with the hair coat of some of the other cattle out here, but I still think that she balances and just blends so seamlessly, especially for a big bred heifer like this. I understand how hard it is to keep them at this stage in the game going like they are. We get down to the reserve divisions, and I think they represent each one of those divisions incredibly well. I think there's quality cattle all the way through. I'm going to take another look at them and get you a champion and then a reserve. Let's congratulate all of these kids and exhibitors one more time.
A reserve right there goes to tag number 405. Congratulations to tag number 405. And Kason Wamaka Fighter Idaho is going to be our champion with JC. Your grand and reserve champs right there. Congratulations. We're going to go right on to our bull show right here. Late spring bull calves. Got a pair of entries. Tag number 442 here. Our first calf in from Landon Weaver of Worland, Wyoming. Thirsty Dirt Bamboo. Late spring bull calves calving in the month of March and following. And Dan Vanek is going to bring us Blaze of Meyer. Tag number 436. Spring yearling bulls, you're on deck. You are tags 429 and 430.
We roll into the bull show, and we've got a nice pair of them here, but when you set them in motion, build them from the ground up, the Baldy Bull needs to go ahead and be your class winner today. I think he's got more substance at the ground. He's softer and more comfortable in terms of the way his lower joints are built into him. You get in from behind him, and I think he's got just a touch more genuine power. I also like him quite a bit better in terms of the way his spine hooks up into his shoulder, the looseness and flexibility there is he has as he hooks up into his hip. The Red Bull is one that I think just needs a little bit more time. He's wanting to maybe fight the halter a little bit today and just doesn't want to be a show bull yet. But there's a bright future ahead of that one. He's round in terms of his rib. He's big out there through his pin set. I do wish he had just a little bit more foot and bone underneath him. I'd like to knock that angle to that shoulder back into him as well. Let's congratulate both of them.
Very impressive double entry class right there. Dan Vanek finishes on top of the class with Blaze of Meyer. Tag number 436 and Landon Weaver with Thirsty Dirt Bamboo finishes in reserve position. We'll go now to our spring yearling bulls. Got a pair of them here. Tag number 429 from Tag Thompson of Powell, Wyoming, and also from Tag, we're going to see tag number 430. These will be your champion and reserve champion yearlings, and then we'll make selection of our grand champion bull, and that will conclude our AOB show for a 2023 at the NILE.
A nice pair of these big bulls, and I'm going to leave them standing just the way they are. Young lady here at the front of the line. I wish this one had just a little bit more forerib shape, and you'd certainly like to soften him there in the center portion of his body. But this one is more genuine in terms of his shape and expression. He's more powerful when you get in from behind him. He's one that I think from the side balances really well, is cleaner and more attractive up there through his front end. Probably just has a little bit more show bull natural look about him, follows that extra power that he has all the way down to the ground. The bull that comes behind him, I do like the extra rib. I do like the extra softness he has. I don't think he's quite as just shapely and expressive when you get in from behind him. He's maybe a little bit plainer there through his front end and not as sweet in terms of the way that neck is built onto his skeleton. I'd like to maybe stouten him up just a little bit at the ground, but I do love his rib. I do love his body. I think he's one that gets out and goes with some flexibility. Let's congratulate them.
Again, a pretty impressive small class right there. Small but very impressive. Tag 429 finishes in reserve. That is Captain Croon and Knight Rider. Tag number 430 finishes at the top of the class. We will now make selection for our grand champion AOB Bull. All those that are in contention for selection, welcome back to the Ford F-150 show ring.
Just two divisions of these bulls, but I think we've got some quality here in your division winners, and definitely different in terms of type and kind and maturity, but I think the basics are still the same. Quality cattle are quality cattle, and because of that, I think there's one that rises to the top pretty quickly for me. Gentleman out of Division 1 with that Baldy is going to be your champion today. Young lady out of Division 2 with the big bull is going to be reserved. Let's congratulate them.
Dan Vanna, congratulations on a grand champion bull right there. Very well presented. And congratulations also going to Tag Thompson of Powell, Wyoming. Tag number 430 taking a reserve grand with Knight Rider. Well, showmen and showwomen, that does conclude our AOB show for 2023. We're going to be down for just a little while, but we are coming back at straight up 2 o'clock. We got a Shorthorn show, and we will welcome Ashley Wagner back. She's going to judge the junior, and then Dan Fawcett will come back for the open show. Juniors, you are going to be first out. We're going to start that at 2 o'clock.